On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the interim UFC heavyweight title fight, which was just announced yesterday between Sergei Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall. And if you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats, a bunch of different intangibles, and then I'm going to give you my pick at the end. Some of this stuff may have relevance, it may not. I'll let you decide. We can have a nice discussion about this in the comments. Would love to hear your prediction after I get through my breakdown of this fight. So I mentioned it there. This is the co-main event. Interim title. Realistically, this should be the vacant title, right? We're hearing that Jones and Stipe are going to be retiring after they do eventually fight. Would definitely like to see this be for, as far as I'm concerned, this is the vacant title fight. One quick thing to note before we get into the breakdown here, Sergei Pavlovich was tabbed as the backup for John Jones and Stipe Miocic, so he's had a full camp for this fight. Tom Aspinall has not. He'll be taking this just around 2 weeks for this fight, but that's what makes this matchup so interesting is, they just put this together yesterday at the time we're recording this. Quick tail of the tape here, you can see Sergei Pavlovich is 18-1, Tom Aspinall 13-3, 31-30, 6'3" to 6'5", 84-inch reach to 78. So Pavlovich with the reach advantage, good reach advantage here, 2-inch height advantage for Tom Aspinall in this fight. 5 rounds, interim title, like I mentioned, and we're going to start first with Sergei Pavlovich, the Russian phenom, number 2 ranked heavyweight in the division. He is 31 years old, like I mentioned, 6'3" with an 84-inch reach. He'll have a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight. He's the former Fight Nights global heavyweight champion, trains at Eagles MMA in Moscow. I know he's done a bit of training in Vegas as well, but mainly that is home base. He's got performance of the night 4 times against Marcelo Golm, Shamil, Tai Tuivasa, and Curtis Blades. He's got the longest first-round knockout win streak in UFC history at 6. He's tied with Don Frye for the second longest knockout win streak in UFC history with 6, behind Chuck Liddell. He's got the most knockouts per 15 minutes in UFC history at 6.31. He's also got the second highest number of significant strikes landed per minute in UFC history at 8.72. Pavlovich, like Tom Aspinall, or sorry, I don't know if this is actually the case, but did not have an amateur debut, went straight to the pros way back in December of 2014. He made his pro debut, his UFC debut. I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. Way back in November of 2018, a fight that he lost to Alistair Overeem. That was the last time he'd tasted defeat in the octagon. He's 6-1 in the UFC. He's got 6 stoppage victories. Some notable wins include Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, and Curtis Blades. Nothing against Marcelo Golm and Maurice Green, but they're not in the UFC anymore. And Shamil always kind of been on the tail end of his career, a little bit older as far as that. So the 3 biggest wins for him for sure are Blades, Tuivasa, and Lewis. The only loss he's had, like I mentioned, there was to Alistair Overeem a couple years back. Hasn't really had many layoffs. The only layoff that you could kind of look at was going from Maurice Green to Shamil. There was an 875-day layoff in between then. There was some COVID stuff. There's some visa issues in there as well. Interestingly enough, I actually went back and looked at this. He was supposed to fight Cyril Gane in 2020. There was an injury there. Imagine if that fight would have happened, how things might have ended up differently. Was supposed to fight Tom Aspinall back in 2021, but he had visa issues, so we could have got this fight a couple of years ago. And then it was supposed to fight Tanner Bozer in December of 2021. There's some travel issues with that. I don't think that was on Pavlovich's end. I think there was a Bozer issue, but either way, did not get those fights. So that was the big layoff between Maurice Green and Shamil. But outside of that, he's looked great. He's already had a fight earlier this year against Curtis Blades, and he had 3 fights last year, so pretty active as far as the heavyweight division goes. And because Sergei Pavlovich is finishing all his fights, there's been no close or controversial decisions in his UFC career so far. Let's go through some stats with Sergei Pavlovich, shall we? Stats are impressive, like we mentioned there. Look at this. Significant strikes landed per minute, 8.72. His striking accuracy is at 49%. His striking defense is at 57%, so it doesn't get hit that much. Doesn't have any takedowns. His takedown accuracy is 0% because he doesn't do takedowns, and his takedown defense is at 75%. Such a small sample size because, like I said, he is finishing a lot of these fights in the first round. So that's everything you need to know about Sergei Pavlovich. Again, devastating striker in the heavyweight division, and this is going to be an awesome matchup. Let's talk about his opponent, though. Tom Aspinall, who I mentioned there, is 13-3. Aspinall's got 10 knockouts, 3 submissions, and 0 decisions. He's 30 years old. He's 6'5" with a 78-inch reach, so he's 1 year younger and has a 2-inch height advantage in this fight. He's the number 4 ranked UFC heavyweight. He's a BJJ black belt and trains at a team Cabone, Liverpool. He's got performance of the night 5 times against Jake Collier, Andrei Arlovsky, Sergey Spivak, and Alexander Volkov, and Marcin Tybura. I was wrong a couple minutes ago here. Aspinall did have an amateur debut, fought in March of 2013, made his pro debut in December of 2014, and then did not make his UFC debut until July of 2020, but you see there, had a couple fights for Cage Warriors. That's a pretty good promotion coming over to the UFC. Some notable wins in his career include Andrei Arlovsky, the former champion, Alexander Volkov, Marcin Tybura, just the one loss to Curtis Blades. We'll talk about that in a sec. Actually, and then we got to mention as far as layoffs go, had the layoff layoff from Blades to Tybura. There was a 364-day layoff in that span, just because if you remember in the Blades fight, he hurt himself. So, some people just who hadn't seen the fight with Curtis Blades might talk about how he lost that. I mean, that was a knee injury, right? Like, it wasn't like a fight where Blades like decisively finished him or anything like that. Do have to point that out because some people might look at the common opponent and Curtis Blades and know that, hey, Pavlovich just knocked out Curtis Blades, whereas Tom Aspinall lost to Curtis Blades. It was clearly an injury in that fight, so can't really take much stock away from that. I put that in the same category as like, Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez, or Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen, those types of fights where, like they definitely fought, but it's like you can't really count that as a win for Curtis Blades in my eyes. Like Sergei Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall has not had any close fights. Let's go to his stats. Again, this is kind of a quicker breakdown because there's not much data to work with. These guys do go out there and finish their opponents. If you look at Tom Aspinall, also some impressive stats. Not that far behind Pavlovich, 7.65 strikes landed per minute. Striking accuracy is at 66%. His strikes landed per minute is, we already mentioned that, 7.65. His striking defense is at 65%. His takedown average is at 3.70, so he does have some takedowns compared to Sergei Pavlovich. And his takedown accuracy, 100%. Takedown defense is 100%. And his submission average is 1.9. So you can see there, Tom Aspinall, very well-rounded. The odds do have Aspinall as a slight favorite here at -130, -125 on most books. Overall, he's about a -138. The comeback is +110. The line actually opened with Aspinall as the favorite and sort of stayed that way. Not much money coming in on Sergei Pavlovich. But an interesting thing, if you go over to Tapology right now in the fan voting, fans actually have Pavlovich ahead at 54%, Tom Aspinall at 46%. So again, razor close fight here as far as what the data is telling us and everything we know going into this fight. Let's talk about some of the pros for Sergei Pavlovich. So first and foremost, I think you could argue that he has fought better opposition. He's been finishing a lot of his opponents. You could argue that he's the best striker in the heavyweight division in terms of power. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. Knocking out Curtis Blades, very impressive feat. Knocking out Tuivasa. He's very fast. He's still relatively young. He's in, you could say he's in the prime of his career. And like I said, he's got a full camp for this one with the fact that he knew he was going to be the backup ahead of time. So that's some things to like about Sergei Pavlovich. But with Tom Aspinall, I mean, he hasn't really lost as far as I'm concerned, right? Like, I know he lost, a couple of years ago outside of the UFC, right? He lost to Stuart Austin and Peril Bullock way back in 2016. But since then, he's looked unstoppable. And like I said, I don't put much stock into that loss with Curtis Blades. Here's the thing with Aspinall for me is like he does things that are a bit special. I know we see Pavlovich knock guys out, and that's certainly his forte, and he's done that. But the thing with Aspinall to me that's so impressive is that he's extremely well-rounded. Like, it's not just his stand-up that's good, it's his submissions as well. Like, he's very well-rounded in all different areas here. I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense any longer, and I have mentioned this on my live stream. I like Tom Aspinall here, but this is a really tricky fight here. And I certainly don't think that, like, I'm certainly not oblivious to the fact that Pavlovich could go out there and win this in the first round. Like, he could. Like, he's that dangerous that I think he could pretty much knock out anyone in the first round, including John Jones, including Stipe. I'm not oblivious to that as well. But, like, we haven't really seen, at least in the UFC, I don't know about outside the UFC, but we haven't really seen Aspinall take a lot of damage. He's also very quick. He's also very, elusive when it comes to his striking and all types of different stuff. So I think Aspinall wins this fight, and there's a couple of reasons to like Aspinall here. So let's talk about some of the things I like about Aspinall. So 69% of Aspinall wins are KO, 31% by submission. Does not go, never been the distance, right? So that could be good or bad. The longer this fight goes, does that favor Aspinall? Does it not? I don't know. Like, we don't know how his cardio is. You have to think if he's taking this on 2 weeks, maybe his cardio won't be on point. But again, I don't think we'll see this fight hit the scorecards. I really don't. I think if you're betting this fight, the best play would be fight does not go the distance. These guys go out there to finish. I really do think Aspinall's more well-rounded. Like, if you look at his resume here, right? Let's have a look. Tybura, knockout. Volkov, submission. Spivak, knockout. Arlovsky, submission. Baudot, knockout. Collier, knockout. You see what I mean? Like, he's getting you just don't see fighters like this, especially at heavyweight, that have a variety of a skill set like Tom Aspinall does. It's just very impressive. Like I mentioned, the only loss he's had is a knee injury. He's got 65% striking defense. So people that are like, oh yeah, Pavlovich first round finish. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Aspinall's head movement, his speed is going to be too much for Pavlovich to try and knock him out in the first round. We'll see. In my opinion, because people compare the resumes and they even just mentioned it there. Pavlovich, I think, I guess you could say he's fought better opposition, but not by much, right? Like, Lewis Tuivasa Blades are his best wins. Shamil, Green and Golem not in the UFC. Overeem was a good fight, but he lost that fight. Good opponent, I should say. Aspinall, same sort of thing. Tybura is ranked. Like, he is a ranked opponent, so you got to count that as a good win. Blades fight, again, we can scratch that out. Volkov, good win. Spivak, good win. Arlovsky, good win. I know Arlovsky's kind of up and down, but still, like, I think when people are like saying, oh yeah, for sure, Pavlovich fought the better opposition, I'm not so sure. And if you look at those wins that Aspinall's had, they've actually aged quite well. Okay. So let's talk first about the Tybura win. Okay. First fighter to knock out Tybura since 2013. And I know during that period in 2013, Tybura had been knocked out a lot, but a lot of people hadn't been knocking him out either. So that was a good win, and he did that in the first round. And again, this is coming off a major knee injury, a long layoff, and he goes out there and he flatlines Tybura in the first round. Like, that to me is that little bit of extra that Aspinall has where he looks like a special fighter. He's the only fighter to submit Alexander Volkov in the UFC. That's a great win. And Volkov, for the most part, he's tough to finish. Like, even his other loss, his knockout loss to Derek Lewis, that was a loss at literally the last second. Like, he's pretty durable overall. So, and Aspinall finished him in the first round. Like, I think that's his best win is Volkov, finishing him in the first round. And it's not like Volkov's been terrible after this. He's actually been on a 3-fight win streak since then. He lost the fight to Gane as well, but Volkov's a good win for him too. And then Andrei Arlovsky. Like, I know Arlovsky's been finished a lot, but like, if you look at it here, Arlovsky had only been, his last submission loss prior to fighting Aspinall was way back in 2016. Now, I know since then De Lima submitted him and all that, but still, that was a good win too, finishing Arlovsky. And that was his first step up in competition, and he did quite well there as well. So again, I kind of what I'm basing it on is this. It's kind of the eye test here, guys, honestly. Like, to me, it's like Aspinall has multiple ways to win this fight. I think he could win by submission or win by knockout. Whereas Pavlovich, I don't think he would submit Tom Aspinall. At least we haven't seen that. I have no idea how Pavlovich is on the ground. I just know he's a good knockout artist. But to me, Aspinall's more well-rounded. He's a little bit younger. And I do really believe he's a little bit faster in this fight too. So I give a slight edge here to Tom Aspinall in the fight. I think he goes out there and gets a late finish. I don't think it'll be early. I don't think we'll see, like, I saw some people in my stream today saying, oh yeah, first round finish either way. I don't know, man. Like, Pavlovich is really good, and I've underestimated him a lot, and I guess I'm kind of underestimating him here because I'm picking Tom Aspinall. But I'm going to go Tom Aspinall by 4th round stoppage via knockout, because typically, if you look at Aspinall's wins, they are more so by knockout. But what I think will happen is, I think Aspinall will just be landing the better shots, and I think as it goes on, Pavlovich will start to slow it down a bit, and then it's going to be that one shot where he's going to get Pavlovich down, and he might submit him, but I think more likely he'll do a TKO ground and pound in this one, and just Pavlovich will be too worn out. Yeah, I'm going Tom Aspinall here. Now, look, I'll mention this in general. If Aspinall was fighting John Jones, if Aspinall was fighting any other heavyweight, even Cyril Gane, whoever, I would probably still pick Aspinall. You guys know me. I'm a Tom Aspinall backer. I've been one for a long time. I even picked Tom Aspinall against Curtis Blades, who I think I picked Curtis Blades in most of his fights. I just really am high on Aspinall, and I see that future champion in him. I see it in Pavlovich as well, but I just think Aspinall's better, like, just overall. Now, the 2 weeks is concerning. If this was a full camp, I'd feel even better about picking Aspinall here, but I still am going to take him because I think even 2 weeks Tom Aspinall can still beat Sergei Pavlovich. So I'm going to go Tom Aspinall, 4th round knockout to get it done over Sergei Pavlovich. But again, I'll emphasize this very hard. Hardly's not a word, not at least in this case. I think Pavlovich can also win this fight. So I'm not thinking that he doesn't have a chance. I think it's a coin flip. And if I got to do a coin flip, I got to go Aspinall here. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who are you picking in this fight? I want to hear a prediction. I don't want to just hear who you're picking because that's easy to do. How do you think Pavlovich will win? Give me the round. Give me the method of victory. Would love to hear that. And let's have a fun discussion in the chat. Again, I know there's going to be a lot of Pavlovich fans here. I've already seen it on some of the, the videos I've done already. But yeah, I think Aspinall gets it done. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @LynchOnSports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.